So to Sunday's fixtures. Both fixtures kicked off at the same time, but let's start with the match at Goodison Park, Everton against Manchester United. Team news: well, Gomez making his first appearance from the start since that horrific tackle back 6 months ago. Twin-pronged attack of Calvin Lewin and Richarlison, of course, up front, and Baines retained at left back, and Sigurdsson also in midfield. From United, pretty settled side. Lindelof was back after missing the last couple of games by deputising, but other than that, it was a pretty much unchanged side. Williams on the bench with Mata, and off we went then, and it didn't take long for us to get out of our seats, I can tell you. On 2 minutes, an innocuous sort of situation with De Gea, the ball at his feet, delayed his clearance, and Calvert-Lewin chased the ball down, and De Gea regrettably hit the ball straight at Calvert-Lewin, and it bounced back into the goal. It was a dreadful error by the keeper, and so in less than 10 minutes United were a goal down. But you wouldn't have thought it. After that, they really responded well, although Calvert-Lewin did have a chance on 4 minutes to double their lead, but this time De Gea produced an outstanding save and tipped it just wide. And Matic looking pretty strong in the centre of midfield on 6 minutes, arriving late near the penalty box, hit a great shot that hit the bar following excellent work by Fred setting up that chance. Another great strike by Matic on 11, and this time Pickford pushed it away to safety. And then on 17 minutes, Gomez, who, you know, is certainly a class player, and we're already run by him, and he went into the box, but his effort was well wide after some pressure on the defence. 27 minutes, Sidibe had to replace Coleman, injured in an innocuous clash, and 30 minutes, Fernandes, who's starting to get more and more influential, was involved, and he forced it followed actually an incident where sloppy defending by Everton gave the ball away, and Fernandes picked the ball up. He was a long way out, but he ran forward towards the box and hit a pretty fierce strike, but it wasn't in the corner, and Pickford made a right meal of it, and it went in, and second goalkeeper error, but we were back level 1-1. So that was about it for the first half. United on top as we approached the break, it has to be said, and they could have actually gone in ahead, although the final effort of the half was from Everton. So half time 1-1. Into the second half, it has to be said that Everton had the better of the play. 46 minutes, Baines, who was looking as good as ever, great cross, found Lewin's head, but it went wide. He should have done better, really. 51 minutes, another good counter-attack led by the ever impressive Fernandes, led to a corner, and Lindelof on 55 fouled Lewin, and it was a shot from outside the box by Sigurdsson, which rattled the post. De Gea absolutely statuesque. Minute 63, Greenwood in the starting line today beat the offside trap, and he set up Martial, whose shot was easily blocked, but it went for a corner, and we saw some neat trickery from Fernandes, but the chance went astray. Bernard came on for Walcott, and Everton from the last quarter started to press forward. On 68, De Gea saved at his near post once again for the very impressive Calvert-Lewin. The England manager was Southgate was on view, and I'm sure he must have penciled in that name, given the fact that there's no Kane and no Rashford. 70 minutes, Fred got penalised and a yellow card for a handball, and it clearly hit his knee, and he wasn't too impressed with it. And then a minute later, Ighalo replaced Greenwood and Mata replaced McTominay. McTominay looking strong today, and he certainly seems to have recovered from that knee problem. And then on 75 minutes, a good opportunity, Baines again causing panic from his cross, but it was scuffed away. Gomez was eventually replaced on 81 by Moise Kean, but on 88 minutes a counter-attack by United, Mata setting it up, and it came first of all to Fernandes inside the box, produced a great fingertip save from Pickford, but the ball then arrived at Ighalo's feet, and somehow Pickford got across again and blocked that. He really made up for his error in the first half, and so goal was denied. We got into added time, and there was one more event that needed some scrutiny. 91 minutes involved Sigurdsson, who managed on the edge of the box to create some space and hit a great shot which De Gea blocked with his foot, but in striking the ball, Sigurdsson fell over, and as the ball came back beyond him, we saw a desperate attempt by the United to block, and what happened was that Lewin scuffed a shot which had a dreadful deflection, and it went past Sigurdsson, who was lying on the ground, and inches inside De Gea's post, and it looked like they may well have snatched it. However, as one was anticipating, VAR had a look at it, and they decided that Sigurdsson was offside, but more importantly interfering in De Gea's eye line, and the goal was chalked off. The final whistle arrived, and Ancelotti was absolutely blowing a fuse at the referee, and he ended up getting a red card. But that was it. Great game, exciting game, ended honours even. Final score, Everton 1, Manchester United 1. So to the White Hart Lane Stadium, Spurs versus Wolves. Spurs, some changes by Mourinho after yet another problem with his selections. He put Casaniga in for Lloris, but that was a groin strain. But surprisingly, both Alderweireld and Vertonghen were on the bench, looking thoroughly miserable about it. For Nuno Espirito Santo, he had Dendoncker and Neto on the bench, and Vinegra was in for the injured Johnny. Now, of course, this brings the two Portuguese together. As yet, Espirito Santo hasn't got the better of Mourinho, but of course Mourinho was Santo's boss at Porto. Early Wolves pressure then, and Jota looking lively as ever. He had an effort blocked, and then on 13 minutes, Bergwijn quick to pounce after an alley shot was parried by Patricio following a neat cross from the right, and Spurs were one up. Jota on the edge of the box responded with a shot which went just over the bar, a bit wide as well. 27 minutes, Vinagre broke down the right left. His cross was poorly dealt with by Tananga, and Doherty pounced to level. Sloppy defending by Spurs. And then on 44 minutes, just before the break, some nice work by Spurs. Ali amongst the recipients, but the shots just went astray. But into added time, they got another chance, gilt edge chance this time, and Ali managed to feed Aurier, who came in sidestep from the right and hit a cracking left foot shot past Fabricio, and so Spurs went to the break 2-1 up. Into the second half, an early Moutinho free kick found Jota, and he headed a fraction over. And then up the other end, Ali ghosted in on 55, but he should have done better with his header, which went wide. And then on 57 minutes, Traore, who'd been quiet really, but he managed to get the ball. He managed to handle a really stiff challenge, broke clear of the tackle, and then fed Doherty, who's then in turn found Jota at the far post, a yard out, and we were back level, 2-2. From there on, Wolves had the slight better of it, and then on 73 minutes, a magnificent piece of play by Wolves. Jota managed to turn his man brilliantly, and then he's got pace, this boy, and he fed Jimenez on the right, who stepped inside past Taganga, and his left foot shot was far too good for Casanegra, so Spurs were down and Wolves up 3-2. Wolves had to defend in numbers for the last 10 minutes, but they managed to do it relatively unscathed. The final whistle arrived, so Nuno Espirito Santo had finally got his win over his old boss. Final score at White Hart Lane Stadium was Spurs 2, Wolves 3. Now a brief look at the highlights for the Carabao Cup Final, Aston Villa against Manchester City. Manchester City, Bravo was retained in goal, Foden and Aguero in, and the bench, Edison, Bernardo, De Bruyne, Mahrez and Jesus. Wow, that will be enough for me to say, just give them the cup. Trezeguet on the bench for Villa. El Ghazi had a early header just over on 2 minutes, should have done better. And then up the other end, Aguero equally guilty of missing a good chance on 9 minutes, heading over the bar. And then on 19 minutes he made amends and he opened the scoring, following a great cross from Rodri, who found Voden, who went to the byline and pulled it back on a plate. Aguero doesn't miss those. It was 1-0 to Manchester City. So, minute 25, my man of the match, Phil Voden, he managed to get clear and he steered his left shot just wide. Then on 29 minutes, it followed a dispute over a corner. Gunderman got the final touch, but the referee awarded a corner, and from the cross, Rodri stood high above the defence and headed a nice header in the corner, and so City were 2 up. They virtually dominated the whole match, but then on 40 minutes, Sumatra managed to get his head after a slip by Stones, and his header was a very firm one and went past Romero, and it was back to 2-1. So that was the first half. Second half, a bit disappointing really. Mings presented a chance for Foden on 52, but his shot went just wide. But he was excellent on the ball throughout, Foden. 80 minutes, Aguero shot wide after the ball was clipped back from the byline. And then a gilt chance for Villa to take us into extra time, but Engel's header from a corner was tipped onto the post by Romero, and that was about it. So City retaining their crown. This is their 3rd win in a row. Final score, Carabao Cup Final, Manchester City 2, Aston Villa 1. So that's week 28 done and dusted. So let's have a quick look at the tables as a result of that. Of course, there are a couple of sides that are on only 27 games. City and Villa, for example, and Arsenal and Sheffield United. But Liverpool are still at the top, 79 points. They're only 22 in front of City now. Well, that was the state before, sorry. They're still 22, but they played a game more. 7 points back on 50 of Leicester. Chelsea 45. And Man U are in 5th on 42. And Wolves are also on 42 in 6th. 7th are Spurs and 8th are Sheffield United on 40 points respectively. At the bottom, Norwich still holding everybody up, although they did get a win, so they're up to 21 points. Villa, who didn't play in the Premier League, are 25, and Bournemouth have slipped into the bottom 3 now on 27. Watford and West Ham also on 27, but they both won, of course, so they've jettisoned above Bournemouth. And Brighton are on 28. Newcastle are next, but they're 4 points clear on 32. Now for the goals of the week. Well, I like Lewis's winner for Norwich, and I liked Alonso's first for Chelsea, but I think I'm going to give it to Aurier for Spurs. Great team move, great finish. So that's my pick of the goals of this week, and that's your lot. Just one final bit of news before I go. I did catch the highlights of the first match in the FA Cup 5th round at Fratton Park, and Portsmouth were beaten by Arsenal by 2-0. Arsenal playing a lot of youngsters in that side, but they look pretty cool, and they won the game by 2-0, so they're into the quarter-finals. The other matches will be played tonight, Wednesday, and of course that bumper match on Thursday, Derby against Man U. Okay, that's my lot.